Hey everybody, this is Dylan with Critical Crafting. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make some really cool looking ice scatter. It's almost terrain in some instances that your players can actually go ahead and play on top of. And we're going to be building this out of some 2-inch insulation foam that I pulled out of the construction site dumpsters. Some paint, Liquid Nails Clear Seal, some Liquiteous Gloss Medium Varnish, and Woodland Scenic Snow. Let's get started. One of the great things I'm going to show you about this build today is that it is entirely modular, so you can kind of mix and match things to make all kinds of different terrain, and it's something new every time you put it on the table. Also, the techniques that I'm going to show you can be used to make all different kinds of ice structures, ice scatter, and that kind of a thing. That'll just be something great to add to your repertoire of crafts you're able to build. So the first thing you're going to want to do here is get your base cut out of foam. So each of these structures is going to be built entirely from foam with just some paint and then additional material added to it. So for the first technique that we're going to be doing, creating a flat topped terrain piece, you're going to be cutting into the foam towards the center of the structure. So you'll be cutting in at an angle, and here I'm using the Woodland Scenics hot wire cutter. If you don't have one of these and you're interested in crafting or you're getting into it, this is a must-have if you're doing anything with foam. It is a super handy tool. I'll put a link in the description for you all. One easy way to create these sort of jagged structures is to just kind of wiggle the wire cutter as you're going through. So dragging it through the foam and then kind of wiggling it at various intervals and moving in sort of a zigzag or a sawing pattern. This carving technique is pretty similar to a lot of other techniques for creating stone structures out there. The main thing that's going to make this different is the paint we're applying, some snow effects, and then a liquid glossy medium to give it that extra oomph and push it away from just a generic stony shapes and into a glacial or icy structure that'll look really cool when you slap a white dragon down next to it, or maybe you're a possessed snowman or something. Here I'm cutting the top piece. What I'm doing here is creating a two-tiered structure. So the idea is that you're going to have a little bit of a dynamic play area for your players to move up onto this icy structure. And you're going to want to make sure that the top part fits onto the bottom part. You can create some really cool pieces with an overhang, but for this particular piece, I am not. You'll see one other piece in the video where I do, but this one we're just doing a flat base and top. If you're using a gridded system like I do, the next thing you're going to want to be doing is laying out your grid. So you just use a ruler and a Sharpie, marking out 1 inch or whatever size your square system is that you're using on both the base and the top. It's very important not to glue the top to the base until after you've made your markings. Otherwise, you're going to run into trying to measure with your ruler and having to mark all around this top instead of just straight through on the base. Then you're going to want to figure out where exactly you want the top and make the marks so that they line up with the marks you have on the base. That can be a little bit tricky, but just try and eyeball it after you've glued it down and you should be okay. Something that I like to use the hot wire foam cutter for is cutting my grids actually. And here you can see I messed up. I do that every now and then, and I'm using a technique with a rock. It's just a jagged rock that I use a lot for texturing, and I can use that to kind of get rid of some of those mistakes. If I mess up a grid, you'll also see me use it later for creating textures on this. But once I've used my hot wire foam cutter to get rid of as many gridded lines as I can, I'll then use the X-Acto knife technique, which most of you will be aware of. You're essentially just taking the knife at an angle on either side of that Sharpied mark and cutting out these gridded lines so that you have a nice beveled surface there. Next, what you're going to want to do is take a look at both the top and the base and see if they line up well. This doesn't quite have a natural look to it. You can see where there's sort of an overhang. So what I'm doing is carving into both the base and the top to blend the two pieces together and make them seem like they're more of a cohesive, natural unit. This is a really handy tool. It is the Frozen Roller from Green Stuff World. And what I'm doing here is just pressing that in just like you would a rolling pin into batter, and creating this texture. It's going to be very fine and not super deep on this. That's not a huge deal. This is, again, just another layer. So we're adding that first layer of texture. Then I'm using my rock technique, which is essentially just pressing that rock in there. A lot of people like to use tin foil for this, but I like to really dig into the piece and create some divots and holes and such that are just really, really deep. And I'll take that roller and I'll roll it kind of all around the structure here. And again, just sort of layering these different textures. The next technique we're going to be looking at is creating arches. So a lot of the time when I look at terrain, I see, a few little things stuck on it, maybe a little bit of scatter, and it still looks really flat to me, like a game board instead of an actual environment. So I like to create some things that either stick out, or maybe I can stick on top of one another and create a couple levels so that it looks more like an actual environment than just a game board. You'll cut out sort of a U shape from the foam and then use the same technique of cutting in towards the center, wiggling the tool back and forth and creating a sawing motion at times to create these different structures. At first, you'll probably have to run the wire along each of the corners. It's sort of a bevel to cut away some of those jagged edges that make it look like it's just a rectangular structure and push it into a more dynamic feeling object. Once you have the base structure cut out for this, we're going to use our rock method of pressing a rock into the structure. Again, you're going to want something nice and jagged with all kinds of little textures to it. And this will help us create more layers of texture. So we already have the one layer of texture of these different jagged shapes we've created with the hot wire cutter. Now we're using rocks, or you can use tin foil or something similar to create these sort of gouges and different textures into the structure itself. So having covered two basic structures, one a sort of playable space for players, the other a more decorative arch, the next thing we're going to look at is painting these. So I'm using a Liquitex blue here with just a little bit of water added to help me spread it out. You're going to want a nice even base coat, a thick kind of blue base coat here. And the reason for this is, just like the texture, we're going to be putting on layer after layer of paint. And what this is going to do is give us sort of a translucence to this, just like what ice has, where you can kind of see through it, and the deeper you look, the more blue it sort of gets. One side note, you don't have to use a Liquitex paint for this. I was playing around with a couple different paints, and I actually really like the apple barrel blue for this, mainly because it's extremely inexpensive compared to other paint, and you go through a lot of paint when you're making terrain. It also doesn't have to have a lot of water added to it, so that's an added benefit. The next thing you're going to want to do is put on our dry brush coat of white. I am using a Home Depot cast-off white here, but I also use the apple barrel white later. Again, I was just playing around with a couple different materials. Really, any cheap white paint is going to work for you here. And the method is, with dry brushing, you're just going to want to get a little bit of paint on the brush, take that paint and kind of brush some of it off onto another surface, either something that you're not going to be looking at on the structure, maybe on the bottom, or onto a paper towel. Once you've done that, you're going to take it and just kind of brush over so that you're hitting all of the highlights and details of the piece. For these, I actually got a little bit more aggressive than I normally do with dry brushing and got into some of the nooks and crannies, kind of got rid of some of the blue that I had painted on there, but left just little hints of it throughout. Once your dry brushing is done, you're going to want to do a coat of washed blue paint. So what I've done is take apple barrel blue and I just kind of mix it with a whole bunch of water to create a very thin paint. I then paint that over the entire structure, getting into the nooks and crannies as much as possible. You really want to focus on those areas because that's kind of where your wash is going to stay, and it'll kind of make those white areas pop and still sort of blend things in. You may end up having to do more than one wash, or maybe make your paint a little bit darker, or even make it a little bit lighter as you go. And you have to remember that after you've let this dry, it's not going to look the same, as you can see here. So keep that in mind as you're kind of looking at it. It's going to be a little bit less blue when it's dried. The next thing we do, again, layers. So we're painting on, this time, an actual dry brush. So Once again, taking the paint, kind of getting rid of some of it so there's just a little bit of paint on the bristles, and going over the entire structure with the paintbrush, just emphasizing those highlights. Again, we are getting a little bit more aggressive than your normal dry brush, but the plan here is, again, layers. More and more layers. Speaking of layers, can you believe it? We're doing another layer. So once you've got that second dry brush coat on there, you're going to want to mix up both the white and the blue apple barrel paints along with some water in pretty much equal parts of the paint, a lot more water to it, and you're going to go and paint this over the rest of the structure so you can kind of see what the color and consistency look like there. It's a bit lighter and just helps to blend in more. We're going to move into adding our snow effects. So we'll get some Elmer's glue, mix that together with some water, and then you're going to pour your Woodland Scenics snow flakes into this. So it's kind of crazy, but you're creating this sort of goopy, soupy snowflake mess with the glue and the snow in there. You're going to then paint that into the creases for your dual structure. You're going to paint that so that you're kind of covering up any cracks where the two pieces are joined together. And then you paint this mostly on the edges of each of the structures, on the top and on the base, and any areas where you feel like snow would naturally kind of accumulate on this. I like to put some of it down near the bottom, so it might look like maybe snow drifts are happening there. And then I also like to put a little bit on the grid itself. Before that glue has had time to dry, you're then going to take your Woodland Scenic snow and sprinkle it back onto the top of this again. So you're adding another layer. You've got this sort of thick snow, and then you're adding the powdery stuff on top of it. And I'm going to do the same thing on the arch. We're doing the same kind of idea here, painting it on and then sprinkling snow on it. Definitely make sure you have something underneath of this. This stuff is really, really messy, so you're going to want something to catch it. Also, you can reuse it if you do this. Scooping it up, pouring it back on, and then dumping it back into a receptacle of some kind for reuse when you're done. Did I say we were done with paint? Because we're not done with paint. We're going to make another wash with white and blue, this time focusing on the areas where our snow is. So you're probably asking, why did we even use the Woodland Scenic snow? You could have done the same thing with dirt or sand, and that's entirely true. If you want to use that instead of the Woodland Scenics, you definitely can mix it in with the glue and paint it on just like the snow, because we're going to be covering that with different layers of paint. I like to use Woodland Scenics because it's lightweight, it sticks very easily, and I don't have to worry about it falling off as much as something like sand. I don't have to use as much glue. So here you're focusing on any of the areas that the snow is. You're not going to want to wash back over areas that you've already done. We're pretty much done with those other than a few touch-ups later on. So we're finally entering our home stretch of layering, and what you're going to want to be doing here is bringing back that snowy feel. Putting the glue onto this and then kind of pasting it in onto itself gives it more of a clumped feel than the fluffy snow, which I really like for this kind of a structure. And what you're going to do is just take your basic white and dry brush it onto those snowy areas, maybe a little bit back onto some of the regions that you feel like could use a little bit more white after all of the various layers have gone on here. I like to go in and add just a little bit extra blue wash to these areas after I feel like I'm done. This gives it, again, just another layer of translucence. You don't have to do this. I just feel like it kind of pushes it, again, into a more realistic realm. Or maybe not so much realistic, but stylized in a way that makes it stand out and gives you kind of a cool look to the overall piece. One thing I find very helpful when I'm doing my projects is setting up a light base where my projects can dry. That way I can work on other things, and at the same time putting some lamps over top will help to speed up the drying process for your paints. Now things really start to come together. We're going to use a Liquitex medium that is a high gloss in order to give the piece that icy wet feel that a glacial structure or some kind of a snowy capped mountain would have. So you're going to just go ahead and pour that out of the bottle and paint that very liberally. We're talking really thick here. One thing I've noticed about this, after you paint it on pretty thick, you're going to see that it kind of clumps up in areas. You're going to want to give it time to dry. If it's looking way too thick, try and thin those areas out a little bit. And do not leave this drying out in the sun. For some reason, I've noticed that it will bubble up which is cool if you want to create a marsh, but not so cool when you're trying to create an icy structure. So now we're going to add the icicles to these structures. There are a lot of different methods for doing this. Most people like to use hot glue guns and that kind of a thing. I find that liquid nails works really, really well to create crystal clear structures of ice and icicles, and also it holds up really well. So all you really have to do is squirt this out directly onto your model and then tool it. So take a dental tool, even a stick will work, and sort of pull down on this material to create those icy little dangling icicles there. Something to note, some people have allergic reactions to this stuff, so you might want to wear gloves when you're using it. It also has a pretty strong stench, so have some kind of a proper respiratory system going on, do it outside, and maybe don't do it in the living room. The wife wasn't too happy about that one. Because our flat base structure doesn't really have any overhangs, we're going to use a different method for creating these icicles. Essentially, you will squirt the liquid nails out around the rim or the edge of the structure, and then use the dental tool or a stick to pull the liquid nails down to create a sort of icicle feel to this. It's pretty simple. You can use this on just about any project, and it works really, really well. A side note, liquid nails is also really great for creating ice effects and fire effects, torches and that kind of a thing, which I might do a video on later if people are interested. So we've finally come to the last step, and here you're just doing a small amount of detailing, dry brushing on thin white lines onto those icicles. You don't have to do this. Once again, I feel like it helps them pop, but some people might like to leave them crystal clear. Liquid nails normally takes about 24 hours to set up before you can paint it. I found that often I can paint it within about 8 hours, but you're running the risk that it's still a little sticky at that point. Alright, so with that, you have some really cool, fully modular terrain to vex your players with some yetis, white dragons, and all kinds of fun ice encounters. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time on Critical Crafting. Thanks.